try to distill some kind of meaning out of those experiences. Try to distill some kind of meaning out of those experiences. Try to distill some meaning out of those experiences. Try to distill meaning out of those experiences.
Hello, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the stream. My name is Elise. Welcome to my tea table. It is Best Life Friday, and you all know what we like to do on Friday nights. We like to have a little party and talk about or learn about things that we all can do for our own lives and our own paths to find ourselves on the path towards the best life. I am a tea expert. I'm a tea importer, and I do talk about that often. I drink tea. Today I will be drinking a beautiful oolong tea from China. I'll be explaining all about that a little bit later. You are welcome to ask any questions you have about tea, and I do have a theme of what we're talking about tonight. We're talking a little psychology, a little sociology, and more so than focusing on the negative thing, which inevitably we always have to talk about something negative. We're going to talk about what we can all implement into our own lives in addition to a tea lifestyle: drinking tea, feeling good, holding space, being empathetic, all good things for living the best life. But there's always more that we can do to be inclusive. That's a term that gets thrown around a lot, and we're going to talk about that today. Inclusivity and what this term gaslighting has to do with it. It's a term that I've been seeing thrown around a lot on social media, particularly TikTok. I think it's a good thing, but I also think, it's a good thing that people are talking about it, people are making themselves aware and empowering others in the community to learn how to identify those things and how to communicate better, have better relationships. But I think there's a little bit of, at least from my side, a little bit of misunderstanding of what that term actually means, the proper usage of it, and actually how gosh darn prevalent it is. It's not just a political maneuver or a political strategy. It is a very serious thing that I think has become a very large part of our relationships and lifestyles. I am streaming online to Twitch and other platforms, and that is where the most ideal experience is. Today I'm streaming from the beautiful tea fields of India. You can come see what it's like. That's the link there if you want to get a better view of what's going on. But you are welcome to hang out on Reddit. I don't stream to Reddit too often, only on Friday evenings. That's when I like to hold space for Reddit. But I do stream 5 days a week on Twitch. And the other link now, I just set it up so our Twitch channel can be found at tlet.tv. Really exciting stuff. Really making this TV network for tea, talking about the lifestyle of tea, as well as bringing in guests. So it's not always me. In fact, I'm going to be traveling next week. This time next week, I will be in India. It's a terrible time to go, which means that I've had to work very hard over the past few weeks to put all the measures into place to make sure that I can not only travel safely for myself, but also travel responsibly among the communities that I visit with to do the tea work. So right now is a very important time in all of Asia, in all of the tea growing world, where the first flush, so this is the first shoot of tea leaves that come out in the spring, come out. So there's a lot of tea harvesting happening every day. There's tea harvesting happening, new teas are being made. And this is the time when the tea industry does all of its buying for the year. So every year I usually go to Asia during the spring. I typically invite buyers in our wholesale network to travel and meet everybody along the way. But with travel being so restricted right now, not so smart to be doing that, and that's okay. So I'm really trying my hardest to optimize myself being there. And so today I spent most of my day ordering supplies and setting up a rig that will allow me to do very efficient IRL streaming from the field, from the tea field. So just like today, hanging out in the tea field here, I'm going to be doing this from India while I'm there. Tea bags, teabagging is a habit that I think needs to stay in college. We're adults here. We can all be civilized, kind people, not doing that childish stuff with tea bags. But yeah, in all seriousness, no, I'm not a fan of tea bags. There's several reasons. Most of the tea bags, the materials that they use to contain the tea, it may look like paper or it may look like a safe material, but ultimately they all have microplastics layering the outside of the paper to protect it when it does get wet, so it doesn't, rip apart, tear apart. So that means that when you put your tea bag into the boiling water, you are going to be releasing some of those microplastics into your hot water, into your tea. So my most ideal suggestion is either glass or ceramic. There's several other materials you can use as well, but it's just safer to do it that way. So I just, cleaning my wares there. Looks like my hotkeys broke every time. I never know when the hotkeys are going to be broken or not broken. They're broken now. Earlier when I was testing the stream, the hotkeys were not broken, but whatever. So I had poured hot water through all my wares. This is the Gaiwan. This is the quintessential tea brewing vessel from China, and it is the best. I mean, this is just like a non-fancy one, although it looks fancy. It looks fancy. Got the cool design on it, but these are just the filters do that too. It also depends, I think, on the material of the filters. But ideally, if you're working with good quality tea, you want to also have a large space for the tea to expand and really brew, so that it can release all of the flavor and all of the other yummy, nutritious compounds that we want to release from the tea. So that's why I like to use the Gaiwan. This is cheap, easy, very easy to clean. Like after you're done brewing, it's very easy just to, and the lid is used to hold back the leaf. And you can use a filter. So I use this filter, just a little metal filter with tiny little holes all throughout it that you use to keep back any leaf. But when you're using very large leaf like this one here, this one's going to expand when it goes into the hot water, and it won't, it'll be very easy for this lid to hold it back. So no further ado, I'm going to get started. Use the leaf here. This is yellow rose cultivar. Freshly boiled water. Yeah, microplastics, there's a lot of them. You can Google it. Like, I'm not going to go into great detail about it, but I do suggest that you Google it. There have been several studies and reputable people that have confirmed the microplastics, so don't just trust me. And like, there are now a couple of alternative materials that some companies are using that are like biodegradable, so they're not plastic. All right, so this tea here, the yellow rose, is pronounced Huangmei. Huangmei. Excuse my Mandarin is not very good. But it is a hybrid between the Huangguanyin, which is yellow goddess, with the golden osmanthus variety. Now, these are not like the actual flowers. I call this yellow rose. It doesn't mean that there's rose flowers in this tea. It's describing the cultivar name. And in many places in China, especially with the oolong teas coming from Fujian as well as Guangdong, which, they're very close in relation, and the story of how the tea processing was introduced there is very common between the two places. They oftentimes will name a cultivar based upon the strong aroma characteristic that cultivar has. So probably why this is called yellow rose. It's probably plural. It's definitely charcoaly. This is a beautiful charcoal rose oolong tea. Oh, the smell is so lovely. Beautiful color. That's something else with tea quality. You can always tell if it's a good tea if it has a vibrant and also clear liquor. So the decanted tea, after you separate the tea from the tea leaf, which I didn't steep for too long. I steeped it only for, I don't know, it was like 40 seconds, 45 seconds. This is called the liquor. And you don't want like a bunch of particles or specks in it. You want it to be very clear. You want the color to be very vibrant. And of course, you want the aroma to be delightful and pleasant. I mean, ultimately, that's the thing with tea. Everybody always asks me, what tea is the best tea to drink for this or for that, or whatever, healing property they're looking for. And I always say, all the teas are going to be good for you, but ultimately you need to find the one that makes you feel the best, because that's the one that you're going to want to drink all the time. Oh, Dawn, yeah, you liked that moonshine. It's a great tea. Yeah, I'm so sad that tea's run out. But, so the thing about like lots of tea, meaning like a batch or a harvest of tea, sometimes it will come with this like very special, unique character, and that farmer is never able to replicate that exact batch again the same way. But with gung fu and with mindfulness in their processing, they certainly can create new batches of tea. And in time, they will develop a style where they can replicate that over and over again and become a true tea master. Because in my experience, a true tea master is somebody who can produce a very high quality batch of tea 100% of the time. And the tea producer is the tea farmer in most cases. Sometimes places like Taiwan, the tea maker could actually be like a contract partnership with the tea farm, someone that's independent of the tea farm. But in most cases, the tea farmer is the person that's actually doing the processing. So Dawn, in the case of that beautiful moonshine tea, the tea master, Sarad Suba, is highly dedicated to his craft and his work, and most definitely is spending his life living with the tea bushes, working with the people that harvest the tea and bring the tea to him, and then of course in his factory, really getting to understand the character of the leaf that he's working with. So this tea is very nice. This is coming from an organization that we work with, a family. It's actually two different families that work together, which is great, in two different places in China, which is the birthplace of oolong tea itself. In Fujian, this tea is coming from Wushan, and it's a really beautiful scenic place that is making very, very high quality oolong teas. Higher degree of oxidation, higher charcoal roasts, but the tea does come out soft and delicate. A little bit like, I say charcoal, it's kind of like roasty tasting. But it really balances all the flavors and the textures in the tea. Makes it something really lovely to experience. Tea bagging is a habit. It is, it's a nasty habit. Terrible habit. And today's music, as always, provided by our good friend Sojourner. Get some Sojourner love here. Sojourner, Justin, the artist behind Sojourner, his name is Justin. He was here on Tuesday night. We had a special 420 party stream, and his band DJ Dad Shirt came and played for us. Really incredible live music, super psychedelic, jammy, electronic rock and roll. It was a lot of fun. We're really grateful. Justin's a great friend of ours, has pretty much played every single music festival or music event that I've produced since moving to Las Vegas. A very talented musician. So Sojourner, if you're looking for some cool beats, he's on SoundCloud. He's all over the place, but Facebook is his main place. All right, so we got another tea bag question. Are there any tea sachets considered higher quality? There are. So like just like I was saying, like if you're worried about the microplastics, which is what I mentioned before, there are some companies that are bagging the tea in like biodegradable materials, so you're not dissolving plastic into your beverage. But in addition, there is a difference in the tea that gets put into the tea bag. Now, a tea like this, the one that I'm brewing here and enjoying here, you will never find a tea of this quality in a tea bag. It's just not going to happen. But within the tea bags or tea sachets that are available in the market, and that's from the U.S. to Europe to all over Asia. There's a range of quality from like what people like to consider like the floor sweepings. That happens. The floor sweepings in the tea factory, they'll collect that and just put that into the tea sachet, or it can range to a higher quality, which may be a more cooler, broader leaf tea, maybe blends with other things. But pretty much this is not a rule always, but generally, if you want to like check out the quality of the teas in your cabinet, that you have your tea bags in your cabinet, the teas that are like in bigger pieces are generally higher quality than the ones that are like really broken into tiny little fragments. Hey, Bitcoin. But that's just a general rule. Like, it doesn't mean that it's like that 100% of the time. So, like, really, ultimately, if you want to understand tea quality, you really need to acquire the experience of tasting lots of different teas and knowing what teas from different places taste like, knowing the aromas, the textures, and when you get really good at it and you're really going to, like, decipher a very good quality tea, it's about the chi, the energetics of the tea. And that's where it gets kind of fun. It gets kind of fun there. That's for sure. So I'm gonna just decant my last little bit here. So I've missed the past few weeks of Best Life Friday. I feel pretty bad about that, but sometimes you need to take a break, and before, maybe like 3 months before, I did a Best Life Friday segment talking about boundaries, the importance of boundaries, the importance of being aggressive in communicating your boundaries. So this plays into that. I had set a goal for myself that I would have streamed on Fridays, because I love streaming on Friday nights. This is like the fun night. This is when we get to like dive deep into something fun that can teach us how to live life better. And plus, I stream to Reddit. It's always fun to come on to Reddit, hang out with you all. But 2 weeks ago, the Easter weekend holiday, or the Easter holiday weekend, I was visiting family out of town. I took all of my gear to stream, though. I did. And I was prepared to set up a studio at my family's place, my sister's place, but I just surrendered to wanting just to spend time with the family. So that was great, and I'm grateful for that. Oh, I forgot my hotkeys are all off. Bitcoin, you want to come say hello? You want to meet Bitcoin? You always bought, okay, we don't say that word around here, but we always bought something, sachets, just because of how easy they are to take on the go. Yeah, it's true, but like, there's other things that, other ways of brewing the tea that are just as convenient as like an on-the-go tea bag. This is Bitcoin. He's a cutie boy. Sit down. Oh, sorry, I've got to get him on camera for you all on Twitch. Oh no, Bitcoin can't be cut out. He's too special. Oh, okay. All right, whew, yeah, Bitcoin's a special dog. He's a special boy. Yeah, so there's a way of brewing tea and taking tea on the go with you. In China, they call it grandpa style. And it's how every young professional takes their tea with them. And it's why, if you've ever traveled in China, you would have experienced an immense amount of hot water filling stations everywhere. The train station, the airport, the shopping mall, everywhere there's like these dispensers for hot water. It's very easy to take hot water. And it's because people are walking around with a tumbler, which they can just continuously add more hot water to. And the tea that they put inside is typically a tea that doesn't oversteep. So Dragonwell, Longjing is the other name. It's a traditional green tea from the Hangzhou area. which is near Shanghai. So if you go to Shanghai, most definitely everybody is drinking this tea. And they just have it in the tumbler and they just keep drinking from the tumbler. They don't eat the leaf. The leaf gets pushed back. But then you can just keep adding more hot water. Oh, thank you. His name is Bitcoin. He's a cutie. He's coming up to 10 years old. Definitely changed in his personality. He's been an important part of my work and our business and our community here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Everybody loves Bitcoin. He's popular. He gets around. The tea room here in Las Vegas, we're located specifically in Chinatown of Las Vegas, so just off the strip, not far from the strip. We host, or at least used to host, several music events and other arts and culture events, along with doing tea tastings. And this is a warehouse, so this is where I operate, the tea importing business. We receive all of our shipments in and then fulfill orders. Most of our business is wholesale. So like I work with small tea farmers all over the world. Yes, Bitcoin, is that what I do? Okay, yeah, Bitcoin knows the spiel. He's heard the elevator pitch over and over again, but it's like he falls in love with me more and more every time I say it. That's so funny. I work with independent family-owned farms all over the world and run a software company that manages a marketplace between the farmers and tea business buyers that are seeking to do direct trade. And by bringing all the demand together from all of these businesses, we're able to achieve economies of scale that make it feasible for us to compete with like the large companies, including a company like the one mentioned before that I say we don't talk about around here. It's interesting, competition is a funny thing. So, I'm new to the game. I've been doing this business for about 10 years now, so not new, but in the tea wholesale and tea expertise, people have been working in that industry for decades, and that company in particular has great pride in being one of the first fancy brands that started to popularize tea in the US. And for some reason, that company in particular versus all the other companies that are established in the industry has been thoroughly threatened by the work that I do in particular. Like my name, if you were to meet the CEO of the company and ask them what they think of me, you probably wouldn't hear the nicest things. And I don't know why, I've always opened up to everybody, hey, this is a value for all of us to share in, to make the world better, to make better quality tea, more ethical tea, more accessible, and more competitive with the commodity system, which ultimately is the core of all of our environmental crisis and a lot of the social disparity that's going on in the world. And so, that's it. I don't know if they're necessarily bad. I'm not going to say if they're good or bad. I'm just, they're competitive and can be quite bullying. And if, I'm sure if they were to come into this stream right now, for example, which is very possible because I stream to Facebook and I have a lot of followers that have mutual friends. So, now that I've started talking about that company, perhaps they hit them up and said, oh, Lisa's talking about you, you should go. But yeah, if they were to come in here and speak up, more than likely, I'm gonna get gaslighted. I'm going to be told that my perspective of being bullied is not accurate. You understand what I mean? And that's kind of the topic of today, is how to avoid that. Like, first of all, no one likes to be gaslit. And if we want to avoid being gaslit, then we have to be extra proactive and not gaslighting other people ourselves. So we're going to do a little bit of a lit review. I do this every Friday. I use Google Scholar and I do a little lit review about, certain topics that maybe we just really need to understand the true definition of. especially a word like gaslighting. I've been hearing it used so much lately, and I'm just thinking, I hope everybody like truly understands what it means, because when we do understand what it means, we would see how prevalent it actually is happening and how it's affecting progress and all of that. So you asked, do you travel around a lot? Yes, I do travel. In fact, next week, I'm going to be in India for the spring harvest. I'll be in India, in Nepal. Usually I'm traveling all throughout Asia. I do something called the Amazing Tea Race every spring, where I go for about 2 months, spending about 3 days in each location with all the farms that we work with. If you'd like to see all the farms, I have this website, and it's called teaanditspeople.com. teaanditspeople.com. You go there, that's like my retail website. Of course, you can find tea there, but you can also see like all the farms. We have like all the grower profiles up there. So when you search a tea, it'll say like who the farmer was. And you can click there, and there's like even videos, like really high quality videos. We're more of a media company, a media technology company than anything else. And so it's really important, that storytelling aspect. So when I'm traveling, I'm always traveling with all the camera gear. And yeah, I was just sharing that I'm setting my IRL rig up. I've been doing some IRL streams. I traveled to New York this past weekend and did some pretty cool. Yeah, Don, what company? I don't know any of the companies. I mean, you've heard so much tea drama. It's any of them. But yeah, I won't mention which one. You can just assume all of the above. But I did it from my mobile phone, and I'm streaming to Reddit through my mobile phone, which is fine. Actually, I like streaming to Reddit through the mobile. It's more real. It's more, I'm here with you. We're connecting through the cell phone. But with Twitch, with our like television network of sorts, I do like to use higher quality content. And so running around all over the world with like your Wi-Fi hub, it requires a lot of equipment and stuff. So I'm so excited. I've ordered everything. I should receive it all before I fly out, and can do some like really awesome, juicy live streaming from Origin. So you can essentially travel with me and ask your questions to the farmers and to the people that we're meeting with, like right there, while we're sitting there. Bitcoin, sleepy boy. I am from fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, because in Vegas we drink tea. Yeah, I'm drinking a Yangcha. This is a roasted oolong tea from Wishan. It's a beautiful, beautiful tea. No pu'er, just a slightly roasted, beautiful aromatic. Yeah, Dawn, so like I want to like break that cycle of like continuous kind of hate between everybody. It's unnecessary. It's unnecessary. Do I sell that tea? Oh, this tea? No, I don't, unfortunately, but I could. It's just like, it's not a well-known cultivar. So it's not like in regular demand. Like if you wanted some, the next time I have tea from China shipped, I could have some put in there. But most of my catalog, most of the like logistics and the supply chain that I keep regularly going, there's a certain amount of like classics or, kind of foundational teas that I always have to have. So as far as yanchas are concerned, we always have Da Hong Pao and we always have Rogue Wei. And surprisingly, Rogue Wei is the one that sells the most. It's a beautiful tea. It really hits the American palate. The Da Hong Pao tends to be more charcoaly, more roasty. Yeah, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about our egos. Let's talk about how we can be more inclusive and what the heck gaslighting has to do with it. So first, I'm gonna start with with the conversation around gaslighting. And I've gone ahead and set up our lit review for the evening. So everything is already searched for. Got several different articles here. This first one we're going to look at is from the American Sociological Review. And it's published from 2019, volume 84. And thank you for the compliment on my Gaiwan. This is just a very simple Gaiwan, very simple factory-made Gaiwan. Definitely not handcrafted or anything, but it's always my recommendation for people, especially when they first get into tea. They say, what teaware should I buy? And I think before you go and find like a custom ceramicist that you want to, get a custom made thing, which is very possible, they're very costly and they're valuable. I do recommend getting into that and supporting artists. But when you're just getting into tea, it's hard to know what you're gonna like and what your style is going to be until you've evolved in your own experience. So I say you just getting yourself a like very simple factory made Gaiwan. I believe I bought this Gaiwan for like $10, at Chinese shops. You can find them, or at like Goodwill or other what they call it, thrift stores. Oftentimes you can find really great teaware. Just keep your eye out, and then when you're ready, you find that artist, that ceramicist that you want to add to your collection. Then you can spend the money, because like a handmade Gaiwan is going to run you at least $80, I think, for a good one. It's an investment. It is. I'm just sending some gifts. You getting the meme in here? That's funny. I guess I turned on leak chain. You know why? Because yeah, you're on Facebook, so you can share links. That's funny. So what is this? Are you just trying to make sure that I talk about like farts at some point throughout the stream? That's why you sent me that? That's funny. I'm not gonna run that on stream today. Don't gaslight me, man. All right, so let's read this. Gaslighting. Let's learn what it is. Everybody's talking about it. It's like in every other TikTok video that comes across my feed these days. Gaslighting, a type of psychological abuse aimed at making victims seem or feel crazy, creating a surreal interpersonal environment, has captured public attention. Thanks, Snowshoot. Thanks for coming by, and thanks for lurking. Thanks for listening. I hope this is a valuable conversation for you to learn from. Despite the popularity of the term, sociologists have ignored gaslighting, leaving it to be theorized by psychologists. However, this article argues that gaslighting is primarily a sociological rather than a psychological phenomenon. Gaslighting should be understood as rooted in social inequalities, including gender, and executed in power-laden intimate relationships. And I think like that's the side of it that I really want to focus in the discussion tonight. We can talk about the social inequalities, and that's there. But I think for like, I didn't want to take like an anti-discrimination stance on this, although we're talking about inclusivity, but I think like something that is like relevant to us in the now, right now, is like our very personal relationships and how we may be experiencing gaslighting on either side. It may both be doing it to each other, and how we can create cycles of inclusivity where there's no room for this type of behavior. The theory developed here argues that gaslighting is consequential when perpetrators mobilize gender-based stereotypes and structural and institutional inequalities against victims to manipulate their realities. Using domestic violence as a strategic case study to identify the mechanisms via which gaslighting operates, I reveal how abusers mobilize gendered stereotypes, structural vulnerabilities related to race, nationality, and sexuality, and institutional inequalities against victims to erode their realities. These tactics are gendered in that they rely on the association of femininity with irrationality. What? Hey Brian, good to see you. Good to see you, brother. Much love, much love, much love. Yeah, I mean, this is so interesting to see how, like, I don't know, we'll see how deep into this article we get with this, because I have other articles to look at too, but like, yeah, it's like, I think women are on the other end of gaslighting more so than others, like any type of marginalized community, because they are in unbalanced power dynamic positions with their boss, with your lover, with your husband, and how the basis of these activities, which, you know, like I've been gaslit before, and it took me a long time until I realized what was going on. And I up until about a couple minutes ago when I read that last sentence, I always blamed the like origin and the reason and the as like a very selfish thing, that it was just that person's problem towards me. But now to see that it could actually be deeply rooted systemic issues that we've been talking about for years. We've been talking about how we need to evolve away from sexism and racism. But this is an example of how that terrible shit can actually creep its way into our personal relationships and affect our ability to trust people, our ability to love people, and just our ability to live the best life that we need to. And don't worry, like, we are going to go over a solution, because like right now I think going into this article is going to get us deep into some, you know, sad ideas around the status quo of our relationships. So George Cukor's 1944 film Gaslight tells the story of Paula and her new husband Gregory, who sets about the task of isolating her and making her believe she is insane. His eponymous tactic is to dim and lighten the gaslights and then insist she is imagining it. So this is just kind of like the origin of the word. I thought it's kind of interesting to look at it. Gregory aims to undermine Paula's sense of self in everyday life, to confuse and distort her reality such that she must accept his imposed reality in place of her own. Today, gaslighting is an increasingly ubiquitous term used to describe the mind-manipulating strategies of abusive people in both politics and interpersonal relationships. Thank you. Thank you for the gift. Much love. Thank you for being here. Dozens of online checklists instruct readers on the warning signs of gaslighting. And this is kind of like the thing that I've been seeing on TikTok a lot, which is great. I think like young people talking about these issues and bringing it forward and letting people know, hey, this is a prevalent thing and it might be happening to you. Let's see what's going on. So in a 2007 book, The Gaslight Effect, it was released in 2018, and the new version considers how psychological manipulation dominates the post-truth political era. The Guardian's Ariel Leave wrote an article in 2017 titled, okay, let's not talk about the politics behind it, because I just don't want to. But yes, politicians are gaslighting us, and like that's like kind of the systemic propaganda is like rooted in the same thing. But I think for the purpose of the theme of Best Life Friday, and it's about us trying to find our path towards a best life, like let's focus more on the interpersonal relationships than the political angle. This, I argue, is a mistake. Gaslighting is fundamentally a social phenomenon. Engaging in abusive mental manipulation certainly involves psychological dynamics, but scholars have thus far disregarded the social characteristics that actually give gaslighting its power. Specifically, gaslighting is effective when it is rooted in social inequalities, especially gender and sexuality, and executed in power-laden intimate relationships. When perpetrators mobilize gender-based stereotypes, structural inequalities, and institutional vulnerabilities against victims with whom they are in intimate relationship, gaslighting becomes not only effective, but devastating. This article develops a sociological theory in gaslighting using in-depth analysis of life story interviews with women attending domestic violence support groups. I define gaslighting as a set of attempts to create a surreal social environment by making the other in an intimate relationship seem or feel crazy. Have you had that before? Have you had a significant someone you're dating, a boyfriend or a girlfriend, that just anytime you tried, and sometimes you weren't even trying to hold them accountable for something, you were just trying to ask how their day was, and it just flips a trigger for them, and they don't want to tell their truth, and then it becomes your problem. You're putting too much pressure on. Like the experience that I had, the person was like saying that like me wanting to hold them accountable or me wanting to even ask how their day was me trying to control them, which there could be truth. There could be truth to that. And there is definitely room for a healthy, open, transparent, honest conversation to evolve through those types of issues. But for me, it was unproductive because it just was the excuse every time. And instead of like really trying to say, you know, here's about what your personality. There was never specifics. It was always just you're trying to control, and you're the crazy controlling person. And now I've come to realize in hindsight, I've got my own issues with whatever, but as long as every party is having clear, intentional conversation and communication, nothing is toxic. Nothing is toxic if you're doing that. Unlike psychological approaches to gaslighting, a sociological theory of gaslighting must show how macro-level social inequalities are transformed into micro-level strategies of abuse. Decades of research reveal that no form of abuse can be extracted from social context. Anyone can use manipulative tactics against anyone else, but some actions only transform victims' lives, becoming abusive, when they are embedded in relations of power. The theoretical framework offered here has two layers. First, gaslighting works when deployed in power-unequal intimate relationships, creating an environment of surreality. Second, gaslighting works when perpetrators mobilize gender-based stereotypes, intersecting inequalities and institutional vulnerabilities against victims. This second point is critical because women do not typically have the cultural, economic, and political capital necessary to gaslight men. Gaslighting is therefore a gendered phenomenon. In fact, whether or not it is exercised by a male-bodied person against a female-bodied person, gaslighting tactics construct victims in terms of feminized irrationality. Recent survey data suggests that gaslighting is common in domestic violence situations, preventing women from accessing resources. As my analysis shows, gaslighting can amplify the dangers already present in abused women's lives. Gaslighting can also prevent domestic violence victims from accessing institutional resources that would help them escape the abuse. Indeed, the very institutions set up to help victims can become part of the gaslighting process. What? Okay. Gaslighting should be of interest to sociologists then, because domestic violence is widespread and gaslighting is a core feature of intimate abuse. Yet the importance of gaslighting for sociologists extends well beyond the case of domestic violence. First, gaslighting occurs in other types of interpersonal relationships, creating the exacerbating power imbalances. Second, Accepting purely psychological approaches to gaslighting risk the proliferation of context-free analysis. And finally, gaslighting exposes how the association of women and irrationality exacerbates existing gender and sexual inequalities. A theory of gaslighting therefore offers an opportunity for sociologists to identify and analyze under-recognized gendered forms of power and their mobilization in interpersonal relationships across a range of situations. Brian, I don't know if I understand your comment. You said for many years, flip script, when many times I knew it was projecting. Oh, yeah. It can happen in both ways, but just like how this article just says, it tends to happen more to women because of the power dynamic. But it can happen in both ways. I mean, there are women that express themselves from a very powerful dynamic position, and are exceptions to the rule. But the general rule is that in most interpersonal relationships, and men can do it to men. Like, I don't think it has to necessarily be associated with sex. I think because this report looked at domestic violence victims, that's why they're talking about, romantic interpersonal relationships. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're doing this when you never were. And that starts to play tricks on your mind, even if you're smart. I mean, I'm a pretty clever person. I'm pretty confident in who I am. And even I let somebody do this to me for years, making me second doubt myself. Like, oh yeah, okay, this is me. I just need to calm down. I need to learn how to accept for their, for their faults. Which there's truth to that. Yes, that is work that I know is very important. All right, I don't think I'm going to go into detail of this. I think we've already, I think we know what the word means now. I don't think that we need to define the word anymore. And the gender stereotypes, I don't know if we need to go into those details. Okay, so here's the theory itself. Actually, I'm gonna make more tea. And you know what else I'm doing today? I'm baking some cookies. I've got my Easy Bake is over here. I should move it. Yes, I will. I'm gonna move it so I can have it on the table for you all to see. I'm gonna make some cookies. You ever used an Easy Bake Oven? Yeah, I'm gonna make some black sesame here. We're gonna take a break. I think that was a lot. I just shared a lot with y'all, so I'm just gonna I'm gonna let us sit with that. And if you have questions, please bring them into chat. If was anything surprising about that, since we have been hearing gaslighting in the media, specifically around politics, and now after having read this academic paper about it, is anything surprising to you? I mean, I've already shared with you what was surprising to me. All right, let's see. I'm gonna move this forward. Yeah, I'm gonna make some black sesame chocolate chip cookies. The dough has been in my fridge for a while, so I'm ready. Hey, baby. Oh, now Bitcoin's interested. He's interested in what's going on here. Oh, this smells great. I love black sesame. It's like my favorite flavor for like ice cream, smoothies. I just experimented with these cookies. I was like, I wonder if I could replace some of the fat with the black sesame. And I think I'm going to use my large cookie sheet. Large, look how big it is. But I'm going to like just make one flat full sheet thing. So I think it'll be more like a brownie than a cookie. But it should be good. Yeah, but it's so crazy, you know, like even like last week or so. Yeah, narcissistic and gaslighting, I mean, it's the same thing. It's not the same thing, but like I think gaslighting is one of the techniques of narcissists. How you know, narcissists protect this persona. And we're going to look at another article. So the solution article I'm going to share with y'all kind of addresses that angle of it. That if we want to be unnarcissistic and not gaslight and increase the potential of people not to gaslight us because we are just confident in our perspective and our truth and can easily intermingle our truth with other people's truth without any kind of problem, then I think we could reduce the chances of us being gaslit. But if we just perpetuate the cycle, you know, it's not really going to help us in that way. Oh yeah, go get the tea. Yeah, we still got lots of time to sit and chat. Get your tea, get your snacks, and let us know, what are you snacking on? I know you always got the good snacks, Brian. Yeah, basically this stream is how not to be a narcissist and the benefits of not being a narcissist. Got my cookie dough. See how black that is? It's like black. Black, black, black. There's all the black sesame in there. So the Easy Bake Oven works in a way where it goes down on this side and it'll come out on this side when it's done. So, hey, no. The Queen thinks it's for him. I've got to use my fancy, get out of here. Get out, move. Thank you. My fancy baking apparatus. And there we go. It is an important conversation. You know, it's just like, ugh. I feel like I got gaslit and I called it very early on a new friendship. And I said, you know what, I'm not tolerating this. I'm citing it from day one and I'm saying, nah, one strike, done. You ready, big one? And then, you know, I've been, you know, putting my strategy. I've been putting my strategy together for TikTok, doing TikTok videos. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be a really great addition to TikTok, telling stories of entrepreneurship and civil engagement and whatnot. But I've just been, in order to know what would be successful for me to do there, I need to research what's already successful there. So I've been spending a lot of time hanging out on TikTok, seeing what people are doing. And there are a lot of relationship coaches and just women in general that are trying to empower others to talk about this. And so, like, I first of all, we just wanted to make sure that, like, I understood the definition. You know, a word that starts getting thrown out a lot, sometimes the definition can evolve and change. And then, of course, this is Best Life Friday, so I had to find some positive to it. How we will turn it into a positive thing. So yeah, Brian, what kind of snacks? What kind of snacks are you snacking on? What kind of snacks? Yeah, the Easy Bake Oven is definitely a good idea for portion control, because if I was at home and made an entire sheet of cookies, I'd be tempted to eat all of them. So at least here, even if I eat the entire brownie, not that bad. Not that bad. Yeah, TikTok is evolving. I think it's cool. Like, I think it's meant to be. Like, if TikTok wants to be a smart company, they have to figure out how they're going to keep, like, a user base beyond, what it was attracting before with the dances and the music memes and whatnot. And those things will continue. But I think the audience is broadening, and people are looking for different types of content. And yeah, I think like female empowerment content is performing very well on TikTok, which is great. Or maybe that's just my algorithm giving me what I want to see. Ooh, savory refried beans and salsa. Are you having some nice like home fried chips with that? That would be good. That would be good. Yes, with chips, good. Happy to hear that. All right, let's just finish out this article and then I'll get on to the next one. You missed me. Dawn, can you not have beans? I think yeah, my dad can't have beans. He's on dialysis. He can't have beans, legumes. So intersectional and institutional inequalities. Intersectional scholarship reveals that racial discrimination, immigration policy, and poverty shape the dynamics of abuse and its effects. Every woman is not equally likely to be. Rather, intersecting inequalities make women of color, poor women, immigrant women, and disabled women more vulnerable to abuse. Race, class, and immigrant status are critical for understanding the intersectional context in which abuse differentially shapes victims' lives. Institutions such as police, housing programs, universities, and workplaces also affect how inequalities translate into intimate harm. Gendered and racialized patterns of discrimination and exclusion are institutionalized. Gender is present in the processes, practices, images, and ideologies and distributions of power in all kinds of institutions. Universities are gendered institutions allowed for party rape to occur. High schools reinforce ideologies allowing masculinity to be accomplished via the denigration of femininity. Gendered stereotypes are built into penal institutions, law, medicine, and the workplace, marking masculinity as rational and femininity as its opposite. Gender-based vulnerabilities and patterns of discrimination become both naturalized and stalwart in institutions. This calls for analyzing how women's lack of credibility in powerful institutions is mobilized in gaslighting dynamics. And that's something that I certainly experience in the tea industry. I'll tell a story one time what happened. I was in Mumbai for a Tea Expo meeting with one of our grower partners, and he was introducing me to an exciting new business partner in Mumbai that we needed to work with. And so I said, okay, let's have a meeting. We went to a dinner together, and this guy was so patronistic to me and was telling me what role I had in the business. And I kept having to remind him, hey, I'm the CEO. And he kept saying, I can't wait to meet your brother, because my brother was not there. He was at home. I was traveling alone, doing business. And he kept saying, I can't wait to meet your brother. Your brother must be so intelligent to build the company that you're doing. He must be so intelligent. And I said, yeah, my brother's intelligent. I'm happy, proud to be working with him. And he says, I can't wait to meet him. I said, well, you're meeting me. I'm the decision maker. It's okay. And he says, oh, no, your brother must be the one making all the decisions with all the creativity. And just anything that I was saying, just going in one ear and out the other. And it's funny, like in the middle of this conversation, the waiter came with the check and kind of signaled to the guy he was going to give it to the guy. And I just real quick, I reached out and grabbed it, and I paid for the whole dinner, for the whole meal, just to like break down that gender stereotype. Because yeah, that was very insulting for a table full of men, for the woman to grab the bill and pay. It was for their gender roles, which, like, I don't always disrespect cultural roles. Like, they're meant to be respected. But in that case, that particular case, I felt the need to do a statement, an action that would challenge that gender role. And yeah, I've never heard from this guy ever again. But like, this is, the exact same thing. I mean, it's just everywhere. It's so institutionalized. Psychological theory suggests that gaslighting takes place in an isolated dyad. In contrast, I propose that gaslighting draws from and exacerbates the gender-based power imbalances present in intimate relationships. And in the larger social context, I expand on these two dimensions of gaslighting in what follows. Part 1. Gaslighting is consequential when executed in unequal intimate relationships, creating an environment of surreality. Stern and others have found that gaslighting depends on some level of intimacy between perpetrator and victim. This is to be expected because intimacy or an institutional relationship binds victim and perpetrator such that she cannot simply dismiss his gaslighting efforts. Indeed, surveys indicate all forms of gender-based violence are more common when there is an intimate relationship between victim and perpetrator. The IPV literature further shows that gaslighting creates an environment of surreality for victims. Joining these insights, the sociological theory of gaslighting must explain how surreality is created and maintained in power-laden intimate relationships. I distinguish gaslighting from other forms of psychological abuse by showing how it systemically constructs victims as crazy and irrational, particularly by relying on stereotypes about femininity. Part 2. Gaslighting is consequential when abusers mobilize gender-based stereotypes, intersecting inequalities and institutional vulnerabilities against victims. Okay, this is interesting. I'm going to look at these demographics of the study that they're working with. These are like the women from domestic violence survivors, which is an extreme case of intimate abuse. But, this is interesting because by looking at this study, it's almost as if we're getting a look into what a restorative justice circle would look like. Different stakeholders of a certain offense all share their perspectives. And then something can be processed from that. Like what changes in culture can be made to reduce the chance of this being a problem in the future for this offense to be made again. So great majority of these women are poor and working class, 67%. 42% are on some type of disability or public assistance. So these are certainly marginalized people in the first place. Most people are less than high school educated. most have 2 children, 2 or 3 children. And most are in a long-term relationship and renting. Okay, let's see this. So the stereotypes that are used, that are the basis of this, is irrational, silly, hysterical, because all of us women are so silly. Sexuality is bad. That's the slut shaming. Careless and in need of masculine control. Unreliable witness to events. Bad mother. Oh my gosh, that's the worst one. Immigrants as ignorant, and black women as aggressive. So the tactics is flipping stories, social media hacking, calling her things like crazy bitch, telling her that authorities are watching, confusing her on purpose, lying about details, blaming her, denying events, financial control, micro regulations of femininity. So yeah, these are all the men that are like telling you not to wear makeup or not to wear tight clothing out, and telling others that she's unstable. And then the institutional settings that are supporting all of this is the mental health system, police, courts, child custody, and the immigration system. And all of this leads to a sense of seriality. I can't believe that like crazy bitch is written in a peer-reviewed academic article. That's funny. All right, I think it's time to move on to the next one. Let's see, what was this one? Oedipal. This article talks about Oedipal impulses. In the regression from the Oedipal impulses, some, perhaps many people, retreat to the introjective oral mode of defense. This and other defensive maneuvers culminate in a variety of behaviors which have been extensively and variously described in the literature. The author describes under the rubric of gaslighting an outcome of the introjective defense in which a victim and a victimizer join psychological modes in expressing and defending themselves against oral and cooperative impulses. Read, each in his own way. So this is like selfishness, like you don't take the effort. So this was written in 1981. You see, very different perspective than the last article that we had a look at. And this is in Psychoanalytical Quarterly, 1981. The title of this is Some Clinical Consequences of Introjection Gaslighting. Yeah, I just wanted to like briefly look over this. We probably won't go into as much detail here as the last article. So in April 1978, a cartoon by William Hamilton, the creator of the popular The Now Society series, depicted a man and a woman glaring at each other. Their facial expressions and bodily postures reflect surprised anger and uncompromising indignation. The caption reads, "I'm not pushing your buttons, you are pushing my buttons." We've all heard that one before. The broader concept of gaslighting is suggested in the button cartoon of William Hamilton, while the more limited aspects are suggested in Patrick Hamilton's 1939 play Angel Street, later adapted into a popular movie called Gaslight. In the last article you read about that. So let's not read it again. The work of both Hamiltons portray the confusion of the victim who struggle with the feeling that their minds are being worked over, their thoughts influenced, and the validity of their perceptions undermined. Meanwhile, the victimizers perpetuate these distortions, disavowing them and even claiming that they themselves are the victims. Our paper, the cartoon, and the play all deal with one human potential, the ability to disavow, with the help of a variety of defenses, that which have been interjected and or the ability to incorporate and to assimilate that which others externalize and project onto them. The ubiquity and the diverse permutations of these phenomena encompass so many areas of interpersonal behavior that we cannot possibly describe all the varieties of gaslighting. We will sketch out some examples and present some hypotheses in regard to dynamic and genetic factors. What? Dynamic and genetic factors? Okay, that's interesting. We are aware that we merely present old wine in a somewhat different bottle, and that the phenomena we describe have been known to all under different labels. For example, we describe some of the ways in which sadomasochistic exchanges between people are manifested. Our report is a preliminary one in which contains a number of issues requiring further supply and more extensive elaborations. Okay, so let's not see their lit review. Although, let's see. The psychology of gaslighting is of considerable significance for all psychotherapists. The psychotherapeutic situation puts the therapist in a position of great influence vis-a-vis the patient. And all the therapist's interventions take on more than ordinary importance. Moreover, the transference with its mobilization of previous object relationships and forgotten memories can produce a feeling of ambiguity and uncertainty. The formal structure of the analytic interchange, the use of the couch, I don't know, that's... I'm kind of not understanding this, the way they're wording this. I think maybe I have to read another part to understand. The analyst is going to experience it themselves. And I'm not really into case studies. All right, I'm going to pass this one. Summary. All right, let's just look at the summary quickly before we go. By gaslighting, we refer to the behavior of two individuals, victim and victimizer. The latter, disavowing his or her own mental disturbance, tries to make the victim feel he or she is going crazy. We describe a ubiquitous, if not universal, human potential, the ability of individuals to disavow that which have been interjected, and or the ability to incorporate and assimilate that which others externalize and project upon them. Reflections on the literature and a study of our own clinical material have led us to suggest that we are dealing with the outcome of an interjective defense in which victim and victimizer join in expressing and defending themselves against oral and incorporative impulses, greed. So, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if I like this paper. It's almost like this paper is justifying an argument that a victim is also at responsibility, right? Because right here it says it's both. So one of them is offensive and one of them is defensive of greed. So yeah, this is not good. The dynamic core of gaslighting is an effort to control and manage greed. The genetic core is the concatenation of circumstances, including maturation, development, and reality, which shakes the child's faith in his or her perceptions and motivations, i.e. he or she feels the victim of his or her parents, whether this was in fact or in fantasy. As a defense against oral impulses, since greed and its control are necessarily universal, the varieties by which control is established over such impulses are of interest to analysts in the treatment situation as they observe them not only in their patients but also in themselves. Yeah, this is like in 1981, man. The smart people in 1981 we're like victim shamers. Hey Jim, welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for saying hi. Yeah, so that movie called Gaslight has been referenced in both articles that we've looked at today. So that is the origin of the word. The origin of the word gaslight is from that movie Gaslight, which was one of the strategies that the husband, he would turn the gas lights out and use that as something to make his wife feel like she was going crazy. And then, yeah, he could control her. When she'd go out, what she'd do. But yeah, this paper is trash. This is rubbish. We're gonna, no more. No more of that. Why whistleblower? This just looked interesting to me. I'm just gonna read the abstract on this. I don't think I'm gonna read the whole paper, but this is coming from Continuing Education, 2018. So this is a newer paper. Despite whistleblower protection legislation and healthcare codes of conduct, retaliation against nurses who report misconduct is common, as are outcomes of sadness, anxiety, and a pervasive loss of sense of worth for the whistleblower. Literature in the field of institutional betrayal and intimate partner violence describes processes of abuse strikingly similar to those experienced by whistleblowers. The literature supports the argument that although whistleblowers suffer reprisals, they are traumatized by the emotional manipulation many employees routinely use to discredit and punish employees who report misconduct. Whistleblower gaslighting creates a situation where the whistleblower doubts her perceptions, competence, and mental state. These outcomes are accomplished when the institution enables reprisals, explains them away, and then pronounces that the whistleblower is irrationally overacting to normal everyday interactions. Over time, these strategies trap the whistleblower in ways of enforced helplessness. Ways to avoid being a victim of whistleblower gaslighting and possible sources of support for victims of whistleblower gaslighting are provided. Okay, so this is interesting. So Brian, yeah, that's your I'm gonna check my cookies. I gotta check my cookies. They may be done. They may be done. Let's get back to the tea fields. Yeah, that's an interesting one. So like, gaslighting is something used in organizations to threaten people from holding each other accountable. See, so gaslighting extends far beyond domestic violence. I mean, these are any place where there's a power dynamic, an uneven power dynamic, you're gonna see it. I don't think it's done yet. I'll have to put it now. Yeah, you see it in the news all the time. You're right about that, Jim. And that's why I'm talking about it today. Because I've been seeing it a lot, and not just from a political standpoint. I think that was the first time I heard the term gaslighting was in the media, referring to politicians. Yeah, major tactic in politics. But recently I've been seeing a lot of dialogue and education around gaslighting among like relationship coaches and motivational speakers on TikTok. And I'm thinking, wow. Oh, that's why the cookie didn't bake, because I didn't turn it on. Oh man, it's Friday night. All right, so I've got to wait for this thing to heat up. I mean, I guess I can just put it in. I think it's got some heat, because I'd heated it up earlier, but ooh. So Brian says, interesting in this though. Having been in that kind of interaction for too long, I continue to play into the dialogue by simply staying and arguing into it. Yeah. The Easy Bake Oven, firing it up today, making some black sesame chocolate chip cookies. Or brownie, I should say. I'm just making one big brownie. But you say, so for me, it was dual-sided because I would keep trying to prove my side, thus always losing. Yeah, it's like there's no end to that. And that's what I learned in my situation. It was like there was never any like, so me, like I'm like super into like experimenting with different communication styles. Like even if I keep getting torn down, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna try again this way. I'm gonna try to come in from this angle. I'm gonna try to come in from that angle. That should open their perspective to understand what's going on here. But like, no, every single time it was like the same thing over and over again. Oh, this is your fault. I'm the victim here. You're the crazy person. You're the controlling crazy bitch. And you know, this happens like even in the that's funny. You're saying that the IT support is gaslighting everybody. I guess that could happen. But sometimes they're not. Sometimes they're legitimately asking a legitimate question. Oh yeah, I didn't turn it on. Just like I didn't turn my Easy Bake Oven on. Yeah, so in regards to this whole whistleblower thing, you know, this actually hits home for me because this is something I would say is more prevalent that I face in the work that I do than like the sexism that happens. I mean, obviously, when I try to go to business meetings with people that don't know me, there is this assumed kind of like silliness to a woman being at the table that I have to break through. But this is something that's much more powerful in that, like, people that I respect in the industry, people that I am trying to gain respect of, will come and tell me things like, you shouldn't be whistleblowing on what's going on in the tea industry, because they'll put the blame back on me and try to make me feel guilty. They'll say, oh, well, if you do that, and then these companies all go out of business, then you're going to be responsible for losing all those jobs for people. They say that kind of shit to me. And now I'm just like, I mean, first of all, that's not an intimate relationship that I have to stay in. You know, like, that's the difference. You know, like today we're really trying to talk more about the tactics for bringing into our interpersonal relationships, our intimate relationships. Because those are conversations and situations that we can't just walk away from. Some jerk in the tea industry that thinks they're better than me and tells me that, like, I need to keep my mouth shut because I'm making trouble, I can easily walk away from that relationship and no problem. But, you know, it's more challenging when you're dealing with a spouse, or you dealing with a family member, a parent, you know, somebody that you don't want to just walk away from. You know, how do we communicate better and work through it? So yeah, I don't know if I'm gonna, let me just scroll through this article really quick. I'm probably done talking about gaslighting itself. I think I'm ready to start talking about the solutions. Okay, so you know what? I'm going to look over this one. This one looks interesting. I'm just going to read over this. This is red flags for whistleblower gaslighting for all of those interested. The workplace environment makes misconduct reprisals seem normal. Proactive steps to prevent misconduct reprisals are not undertaken. The response to allegations of misconduct reprisals is inadequate. Examples include stonewalling, willful blindness, and deliberate ignorance of events, evidence, and policies. Misconduct reprisals are covered up. Your case is mishandled. For example, mediation is not an appropriate strategy to deal with alleged reprisals, as does not address the imbalance of power central to bullying, or does it redress wrongs. And this is so interesting because, like, someone earlier tonight on Reddit was asking me about a specific tea brand, and the only thing that I could say was, like, this is a tea brand that bullies me. Like, they're threatened by the work I do, and there's no other way to describe my interactions with this company other than bullying. And this is related to gaslighting. And I kind of like but this is like totally it. And Brian, you're right. Like, this is so prevalent in the industry. Everybody just wants to sweep everything under the rug and like not have any systems in place of accountability. Delaying tactics, for example, lack of time resources is provided as an explanation for not properly investigating your allegations. Lengthy processes inevitably mean that the case becomes too old to merit investigation. Organizational action is inconsistent. The organization is inexplicably incompetent in investigating your allegations, but is extraordinarily meticulous in holding you accountable. Yeah, they flip it. They flip it and say, oh, this is your problem. This is your fault. It is unnecessarily difficult to report misconduct, reprisals. Your experience is denied in some way, such as calling unfair treatment a personality clash, or allegations of reprisal a gray area or miscommunication. You are advised by an apparently supportive person in the institution to put this behind you and get on with your life. An environment is created where you no longer feel like a valued member of the team. You are reprimanded after you made allegations of misconduct, reprisals, when there were no problems with your work prior to your allegations. Your supervisor approves, acquiescence, or fails to intervene in retaliatory actions. You are referred for psychiatric evaluation or advised to take stress leave following destabilizing reprisals and denials. And the final one is hypocrisy. You are praised for reporting misconduct, but no steps are taken to protect you from reprisals. Those are the things. So Jim, if you're still here, I'd love to hear your perspective. You know, you're a manager, you manage people, and we have talked about holding employees, coworkers, subordinates, as well as, leadership accountable. And have you noticed if your company has been putting in extra steps to address these issues? Yeah, the medical industry. I mean, I would say like any industry is having this problem. Unless like you're a company that is like 100% doing everything ethical and being honest and transparent about everything you're doing, you're constantly going to have this issue of like employees becoming whistleblowers. And so you're constantly having to be insecure about, oh, how do we protect, when someone does try to say something. So yeah, Jim, if you're still here, I'd love to hear what are maybe some differences you've seen in your company with your management protocols for like reporting. So you say your company has many policies in place to address them. Now, do you feel like those policies are authentic? And do you feel like they're respected as well? Like is it possible for any of these red flags to be happening? Because I think at the end of the day, there's always going to be something. There's always going to be something, some loophole about how, this policy is in place this way, but, we were able to reinterpret the situation, and so we don't have to follow the protocol just like this. But anyway, this is just another nitpicky thing, and I promised myself I wasn't going to be talking about the negatives. So let's talk about some positives. Oh, here's a scene from that movie, Jim. This is the husband and the wife from that movie. Gaslight. That's the movie. So Jim says, we are even at the point that if you even accidentally do wrong, you need to self-report. And you see it happen. Ingrid, you even know the woman's name from the movie. That's great. Yeah, so this article is it's not a peer-reviewed article. This is like a blog posted to LinkedIn titled "Yes and is the opposite of gaslighting." So I thought, okay, not many people have talked about like what we can what steps and techniques we can put into place to avoid gaslighting and to like evolve a culture that has no room for gaslighting. Yeah, so I found this article. I was like, okay, this is the one. This is the one. Yeah, Bergman. Those were their names. That was the name of the characters. Yes. It's like I'm drinking magic. All right, the cookies are starting to smell. I think they'll be ready soon. This was published February 27th, 2020 by Jordan Hirsch. Seems like this is his specific technique. So this is not like any kind of like academic. This is just his personal perspective that perhaps we could gain some value and insight from. All right, so Brian says, with what just stated in comparison to the first article, this is not predominantly female as victim. I had this exact thing happen in a very large corporate culture. It began to be highlighted that my masculinity was problematic. I was a whistleblower for systems that had been used for 10 plus years and were ineffective. Proved case by pulling the most billable programming hours, but better was not better. Playing only the game given was the game. Yeah, so it's true, Brian. And even the first article did mention that, but I think the reason why the first article focused so much on gender was because their control group that they worked with, their study group that they worked with, was all female survivors of domestic violence. So I think that's why they focused on the gender, but they did state that gaslighting is going to happen when there's an imbalance in power dynamic between the people. And so in the case of you versus the company, or you versus the boss, or you versus the corporation, there is definitely a power dynamic there. And it doesn't matter if you're a woman or male or person of color, it doesn't matter. Like everybody is going to be in a position of being gaslit, which is why the politicians do us. And they'll gaslight anybody and everybody, because a politician has a power dynamic above everybody else. So yeah, they can gaslight everybody. Jim says, if something improper is brought to my attention at work, I must talk to HR and possible regulatory and compliance department. And then if you don't go through all of those processes, then you're held accountable for it. So yeah, it's a lot of work to instill that culture and to ensure that everybody is going to be held accountable, especially the person at the top of the chain. Right. So I was talking about this with somebody that works within a state's government system. They report directly to the governor, but they're like a contractor, so they're not like institutionalized there. They're just an outsider that reports directly to the governor. And the governor got involved in some hot water and was doing their own gaslighting to the public. And I was talking to this friend about, how they felt about the potential of an organization like a state administration to hold its leader accountable. And they just said it's impossible. It's absolutely impossible because that power dynamic is so deeply ingrained. But I've heard from others too, though, part of that, have background of working in those systems on the federal level. And they do believe that if someone comes in completely detached from any power dynamic, themselves. And for politicians, a lot of that power dynamic is money, is like, where are they getting their money from? And could be that, oh, I'm sorry. Is everybody else having issues with audio? Let me know. I mean, my stream is, it seems as if the audio is fine. All right, I'm gonna take a break. I'm gonna check my cookies now. It's looking more done now. It definitely is. Oh, you're good? Okay. So yeah, Jim, I think it's just your computer. Maybe something happened with your speakers. I don't know if it needs more time. Yeah, I think I'm gonna put it in for a little more time. Oh, your headphones, okay. Yeah, just a little bit more time, but they're almost there. They're almost ready. You want to see them. Here, let me, almost done, almost done. A little bit more time. Yeah, if someone just comes in with no power dynamic in the system, they could change that culture. They could create like an actual consensus building, consensus achieving democracy. All right, hello again. As much as I hate writing, I try to say yes and to my New Year's resolution of writing more about things that are important to me. So I'm back with another article about how and why to say yes and to change. This month I'm going to talk about how yes and helps us create a shared reality at work and how it functions as the opposite of gaslighting. Brian says, I almost think that sometimes terms get passed around for us to play them out to better understand. I always wonder if they get thrown around almost strangely so that their damaging effects become less weighted. This is not in a good way. I understand that. Yeah, so like normalizing, and that's why I wanted to do this, because I feel like the word gaslighting is getting thrown so much, and like it's just like any toxic behavior enter gaslighting, and there could be truth to that, but if we're going to start doing that, we need to thoroughly understand what that word means so that we don't normalize it, so we don't become desensitized. It's like, oh, that's just another gaslighting politician. It's like, no, that person needs to be held accountable for their truth. Yep, that's true. Brian says, like, jokes pass off continually and then we get numbed to the horde. Yep, it's exactly true. That's why it is very dangerous, and I wanted to do this stream. But I also wanted to give a positive ending to it. So I'm gonna skip this because we already know what gaslighting means, and this is very political. But it says terrible bosses and petty tyrants use this technique at work far too often. So examples are here. Susan didn't really agree with your idea in that meeting when you know she did. We're doing fine. There's nothing to worry about in the face of negative market trends or financial reports. A boss or coworker presenting their idea to leadership as if it's their own, even in the face of clear evidence. If you've ever asked yourself at work, am I crazy? Or you might be a victim of gaslighting. Brian says, I pass on wanting to use a different word than normalizing, use weighted, because even normalize is getting watered down. That's true, Brian. Yeah, we really need to like put more intention into the words that we use. Which is why, yeah, I do the streams the way I do. It's like, do you think that word is common knowledge and it's silly for me to sit in the dictionary and try to figure out what that word means? No, like this work is going to help us truly learn the intentions of the words that we use so that we can be more effective communicators. Gaslighting isn't the only way we lie to each other and ourselves at work. Even when there aren't characteristic villains intentionally trying to gaslight us, we often have trouble establishing and agreeing on a shared reality at work. There are two main culprits. Number one, we have trouble accepting things as they are rather than how we think they should be. And number two, we don't know how to say hard things to each other in constructive ways. So we avoid calling out discrepancies between what someone says and what we see or experience. How often do we try to hide from change by telling ourselves confronting untruths like this change isn't really happening, or this will get resolved before I have to deal with it, or if I don't speak up, someone else will? Consciously or not, we tell ourselves these things all the time, even though we know on some level that they're not true. Consider these examples. The leader who insists to herself and others that morale is high, despite the high turnover rate, and no one contradicts her. A project lead who's confident she has buy-in from all the relevant stakeholders, but meanwhile, those same stakeholders share their concerns with each other behind closed doors. And an innovation effort that stalls out because team members are all holding different assumptions and views about the latest market trends. Lack of a shared reality, it turns out, can have a major negative impact on a business and on the world. If the climate crisis has taught us anything, and I hope it has, it's that hiding from reality doesn't make it go away. So what can we do about it? Yes, and puts us on the same page, the one we're writing together. As I talked about in my previous post, yes and is an improv concept that's all about constructing, honoring, and responding to a shared reality. In an improv show, shared reality is essential. We're building a show together on the fly, and every line helps the actors and the audience understand the who, where, what of a scene. If two improvisers are in a scene that takes place on the moon, and I walk on with, what a great day to be back in Wisconsin, I haven't honored the reality that they're constructing. And now our scene is confused, just like the audience. At work, yes, Dan, is about the same thing. It's about living and working in the same reality so that we can work together with clarity. It's important to understand that saying yes and to what you consider a bad idea doesn't mean that you agree with it. Yes and is about accepting, not about agreeing. You may not agree with what a coworker just said, but you can still accept that they said it because, newsflash, they did. That's the yes. The and comes in when we not only accept the thing we don't like, but are able to respond to it in a way that acknowledges the reality we've now accepted. We are not powerless because we get to choose how we respond, even if our choices are limited and things look bleak. Accepting that things are less than ideal is the first and most important step towards changing them. Yes and is the opposite of gaslighting, and its equally destructive cousin, denial, because it forces us to accept and acknowledge the things we'd rather hide from. And that's an important skill to build to work, to bring to work into the world at large today. Here's what you get when you use yes and at work. Accepting and responding to difficult things does not come easily to us humans, but practicing your yes and skills at work can bring about some amazing breakthroughs, all of which are the polar opposites of what you get in an environment that allows gaslighting and denial to fester. Yes and fosters psychological safety. Coined by Amy Edmonton in 1999, 29. Psychological safety refers to the ability for a group of people to take risks and be vulnerable with each other without fear of getting punished for mistakes. As opposed to gaslighting, which tries to make you think you've made a mistake even when you haven't, psychological safety encourages a culture of trying new things, speaking openly, creativity, among other benefits. By sending the message that you are really seeing and hearing what you think you are, and that we are all living in the same reality, yes, and builds psychological safety in terms of encouraging behaviors that are critical to innovation and constructive change. Yes, and brings more ideas to the table. I think I'm gonna pull my cookies out, and then we'll finish. This article's almost done. But yeah, this something cool to think about. How we can affect the culture in our workplaces by utilizing more inclusive, validating comments. Brian says, for me, because cerebral often, I will pause at the confronting because I will begin to think maybe I have overthought the situation. Yeah, that always helps. It always helps to pause and think. But I think what this writer is trying to say is that in addition to pausing and thinking before you give a judgment to something, is just like first and foremost validate. Yeah, but so yes, but is not validating. Yes, but is like is a judgmental, invalidating statement. So yes, and it allows it saying yes and does allow you at a later time to give an opposing opinion. It does allow for that. Yes, but you know that like initiates an opposing thought immediately. No one likes to hear that. No one likes to be invalidated immediately. So I think that's what this article is trying to say. So that's powerful. I've never heard of this connection before. I know this is not like, you know, an academic, you know, look on this, but yeah, recognizing, validating, and like even if we do that, there's still a chance that we can still debate. You know, we can still say, oh, I don't agree, but like by instilling a culture, especially if you're a leader, by instilling a culture that everybody's ideas are validated, I think is very powerful. Yeah, if I ever hear someone say yes, but after I've like shared an idea with them, my defenses are immediately on. It's already on. I'm already ready to defend myself and defend my idea. Alright, I can turn my oven off. Yeah, but closes the door. Pop your butt out to close the door. That's funny. Jim says, a good thing is to say, okay, let's explore that for a moment to further understand what the other person is saying. Yeah, that's another thing that could be said. I mean, anything that's just like opening and welcoming to holding space. But if you like immediately give the feeling to the person that's trying to share their idea, you immediately give them the intuitive feeling that their idea is not going to be heard or validated, yeah, the door is shut. There is no chance of any type of productive conversation happening out of that. Fascinating. You know, all ideas are valid. I don't even know, like maybe yes and is feels uncomfortable. I mean, there's certain things like we just have to like we can't like do something just because like, oh, I'm gonna do better at this, so I'm gonna force myself to say this thing. Like it's more about the authenticity. Hey, Christ Gab, welcome. a little Friday night dance party. Out in the tea fields. Yeah, this is a fun track. I like this one. So I'm gonna wait for my cookie or my brownie to cool all the way, and then I got an icing for it. I'll put on it. Oh, my tea has been steeping. All right, let's get back to it. Let's finish out this article. In organizations that live in denial, new ideas are not often encouraged or even welcome. Yes, and gives us a framework to push past denial and build new ideas on ones we may not agree with. Oh, the cookie got dark? I mean, it was dark the whole time. It was black the whole time from the black sesame. Oh, the tea got dark. Oh, that's, yeah. Yeah, it got dark. Well, that's what happens when you forget about tea and steep it, but I'm sure it still tastes great. Because that's the thing about good tea. Yep, it still tastes great. You can't oversteep it. It's really hard to oversteep really good tea. You know, it may come out different, having, you know, slightly different texture, but you're not going to feel like an overabundance of tannins. But yeah, Jim, I did find good noodles in Flushing. I found great noodles and ate them right on the street with my chili sauce and vinegar. Best life, living your best life, Brian. Yeah. What kind of burrito did you have? I'm curious about that. Man, a burrito sounds good. I made a bunch of ginger chicken that is waiting for me at my house when I get home. I'm gonna cook up some rice, and I'm just gonna have chicken and rice. I'm very excited about that. I like how you call that chronic squirrel oversteeper. Yeah, like you're making tea. It's like squirrel. 30 minutes later, okay, time to drink tea. In my case, I think I was steeping it for far longer than 30 minutes, but it's all good. Yes, and gives us a framework to push past denial and build new ideas on ones we may not agree with. This can cut down on our natural inclination to defend our own ideas and denigrate someone else's. It's much easier to let go of your idea when you see that someone else is accepting and building on it than it is when someone's denying your idea's validity and negating the beliefs which underlie it. And that makes you more likely to speak up the next time you have a great idea. So yeah, this is all around the trauma. The trauma associated with gaslighting has really affected our creativity. Yes, and positions companies for sustainability in the face of change. If you don't like change, you will like irrelevance even less. Ignoring changes in market trends, pretending that your company landscape isn't changing, and hiding from uncomfortable realities about changes in your industry are a great recipe for getting left behind. Yes, and gives a framework for responding to that change in a positive, constructive way. Yes, the world is changing around us quickly, and we can choose how we respond to that change in a way that builds up our strengths and positions us for success. Then they have a nice little meme of Greta. This stuff is hard and worthwhile. Yes, and it's extremely powerful, and it goes against nearly all of our cultural conditioning, which primes us to look out for our own ideas, ignore things we don't like, and see life as a zero-sum game. But the more you practice this skill, the more benefits you'll realize. We may not be able to keep our president from gaslighting us, but we can hold ourselves accountable for acknowledging, accepting, and responding to the reality around us, even as the pace of change accelerates. In doing so, we can become true leaders and set an inspiring example for those around us, and the world could sure use some more inspiring leaders. Well, thank you, Jordan Hirsch. So tired of gaslighting? Learn how the improv tool of yes and helps you fight back. This is it. That was cool. I like how this ran out. And yeah, we'll keep Greta here. Dear Greta. The world is waking up and change is coming whether you like it or not. Yep. I'm here for it. I am here for it. You had a green chili barbacoa burrito? Dang, that sounds so good. Did you make it yourself? And you're really living up tonight. You had some beans and salsa with your chips, and now you're having some burrito? Hell yeah. Brian says, I push through over steep. Will hardly ever toss. Slam tea. Tea willy shake. Learn lesson. Third time today. Yeah. This is so cool. You know, I did not expect that today's talk was going to lead us into these directions. But, you know, I never... barbacoa? Yeah, it's like barbecue. What kind of barbacoa? Like, you know, barbacoa can be lots of different things. I wonder if this is going to come out in one. My brownie. I pulled it out so that it can be cooled faster. Oh, cheek. Yum, cheek meat. I mean, I love all the the heart and the tendon. Well, so it's not a cookie. It's a brownie. See? It's a brownie. It's still cooling. It's I gotta wait for it to cool a bit more. But it's a brownie. It's a black sesame brownie. And yeah, I'll give you a verdict on it. I'm just waiting for it to cool more because then I also have some cream cheese frosting to put on top of it. I could just eat some frosting now. That's not a problem. Yummy. So good. It'll be good on this. Yeah. So, say no to gaslighting. Say yes all the time. You know, like, say yes to all ideas. Say yes to every perspective. Respect every perspective, because yeah, once we start like putting ourselves into, you know, this our own like echo chamber of all of our own perspectives, then yeah, we're going to be susceptible to, you know, gaslighting will just become a, what was the word you used, Brian? Not normalized. You didn't like that word, but weighted. Oh, what kind of diet tackling are you gonna? 100% carnivore. That's good. Lots of protein. That diet is really popular right now. Hey, Grandmaster Ong, what's up, man? What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the stream. Much love. Hey, so I seen you've been doing the IRL. Yeah, weighted. That was the term. That's a good one. I seen you doing IRL, and I seen others doing IRL. I started doing IRL streaming like last month, just from my phone, eating street food in New York. and really crappy stream. You know, I'm on T-Mobile. I never get like really solid Wi-Fi. But yeah, I noticed that it drew a certain crowd, and you know my numbers were pretty good. You know, not a whole lot of engagement, but yeah, it drew some numbers, and so like I decided I'm gonna invest in it. I bought all the shit for it today. I probably spent a good $2,000 buying all the shit that I would need to do solid IRL streaming. When I do my tea sourcing trip, which I leave next week. So I'm really excited. The quality of the content, and the thing that's cool, yeah, I'm on T-Mobile. Jim, a CEO shouldn't be on T-Mobile. Why not? Yeah, IRL means in real life, Brian. So like, in Twitch world, IRL are types of streams when people are like traveling to places. Okay, so the internet, you know, one of the pieces of equipment that I purchased, which is like the main hardware that the serious IRL streamers use, is this box that will merge up to four, I'm keep telling you three, up to four different networking. So you can do two USB modems, a Wi-Fi connection, and an Ethernet connection. You can connect all of that to this hub, and then it'll like merge all of the data together to give you like, do not gaslight me, Jim. I do not tolerate gaslighting around here. Neither should you. You're welcome to share your ideas. And I will say yes. And what else would you like to say? Yeah, this box is pretty cool. And then like not only that, it will also like decode. It's like a decoder for your video and your audio through an HDMI. So you don't need a computer to stream. You have this box, all of your data is getting merged there. So I got two USB modems, and then when I get to India, I'll buy two SIM cards with unlimited data on it. And so even if I'm in a place where the signal is low, so like I can go deep into the mountains, and if the signal is low, this box will like bring the signals together to create a bigger signal. So that my streams won't drop. And, you know, depending on the signal size and where I am, I can increase the quality of my video. And so I'm actually going to be changing all of my rig to work through that box. And I'm switching to a 5G hotspot. I'm going to be in India for 2 weeks. So I'll be doing a lot of streaming from there. And I'll be using my nice camera, which is cool too, because like usually my brother and I, when we're traveling, we're always capturing footage, like video, that we then license out to the tea businesses that purchase our tea and resell it, so they can have their own marketing materials from the video. So in this case, instead of me like capturing all the video on a memory stick or memory card and then uploading it to the cloud later, we'll be directly pushing everything to the cloud via YouTube and Twitch, but most of our cloud storage is happening in YouTube through a live stream, you know, which is great. So I'm looking forward to that. Oh, cool. Awesome. Yeah, I will. I'll go to your Discord and I'll share it with the community. You know, I don't like to self-promote too much, but like I think that that's something interesting. And also, I'll be really happy to share my rig, you know, and share how I set everything up, because I think the IRL streaming is going to become really popular. And I think that like that investment that I've made in this stuff is something that's worthy even for someone looking to upgrade their own studio, their own streaming station. And then to be mobile is just incredible, because then you can go to like a local event, or you can go like outside of your studio to go, stream and capture good content. Oh, cool. Awesome. Great. I'll definitely go share about that right before I leave. So I leave next week on Thursday. So Brian's asking, so while doing, is the hub recording? No, so the hub is not recording, but the hub, is gathering all of the information, all the data. So like I could be running the 2 USB modems, and then I could be running a cell phone with a Wi-Fi, a hotspot on. So there's 3 sources of internet. And so even if you go to a place where like you only have one bar or whatever, it'll merge all of that data together to give you a stronger signal. So that's how people that are like traveling to remote parts of the world and still streaming, that's how they're able to maintain their signal. But yeah, it's not recording anything. It's just streaming it. But as long as the signal is on and the stream is running, the YouTube is capturing it and saving it. Like the Twitch doesn't really save the video after a few, well, you could pay to save it, but I just use my free YouTube video, my free YouTube page for that. My brother was so proud of me. So my brother is the one who, like, when we first got our first investment, he went ham on all of the media equipment. He spent so much money on our cameras, our gear, everything. And like we used it for the first couple of years, and then like we had produced hundreds of videos, YouTube videos, and it was like, oh, we've got enough. And then my brother moved away, and so we weren't working full time together anymore. And I didn't, I wasn't stoked on filming things and doing media. It's just not my forte. But since live streaming, I've been like pulling out all this gear and figuring out how to use it. And now I'm using all of it now at this point, which is great. But I'm always so price conscious because my brother is like, oh, we need this piece of equipment. You should invest in it. And I'm like, ugh. But this one, this box that I got, it's called the Live U Solo. He was really proud because like it was my idea. I was like, I think I should get this box, and I think it'll fix my internet problem here. So like where I stream here, I'm on. There's only one company, Cox, that gives us internet service in this area, commercial internet service in this area. So I pay an arm and a leg. And these guys like have me at like 0.5 megabyte per second upload at some points, and my stream will just drop. And so what I've had to do is adjust my bit rate, turning down the quality on the video. So the video that you all are seeing is not the highest quality it could be. It's slightly more pixelated than what it should be. This is a very good camera I'm using. And so if I get a more solid internet connection via 2 different 5G hubs to this box, then I'll have awesome upload speeds. And then I can turn the bit rate up, and so the video that feeds out to you will be a lot higher quality. Jim, are you trying to gaslight me? Bringing up my brother, telling me how awesome and intelligent my brother must be. All right, I'm putting it on. I'm gonna ice my brownie here. Bitcoin wants some, but Bitcoin, there's chocolate in this. You can't have chocolate, you know that. Yeah, Jim, don't forget Bitcoin bit me the other day. Let me show you. He bit me the other day and he broke the skin. He broke the freaking skin on both sides of my fingers. On this side, you can see right there. That's the other side. He broke both the sides of the skin on my freaking... Bitcoin was a bad boy. He was rambunctious. He was on one, that's for sure. We hadn't had people here, like on Tuesday night when we did the stream with the band. I haven't had that many people here in over a year. And so I think Bitcoin was just overwhelmed. He was just overwhelmed with all of that. All right, you ready for the verdict? Oh, you vote for more llama backgrounds? Okay, I can do that. Tech was telling me that I need to have like a command, like where people can redeem points to change the background of my green screen. Bitcoin does have snacks. Oh my god, and the day he bit me, he had so many snacks. And like I even went out of my way to feed him before we left the house because I wanted to make sure he had, you know, his stomach was satiated so that he wasn't gonna act like a little jerk. Because yeah, he acts like a little jerk. All right, so here's my brownie cookie. It's like a brownie cookie. Yummy, yummy, yummy. It is so good. It's very crumbly. And I think, you know, I gotta learn a recipe because like you used to own llamas and alpacas, Don? Is that what you're trying to say? Because that's really badass if you did. I have seen a llama before. Dang, that's cool. You know, our friend Dawn here lives in Arizona. T-friend in Arizona. We should do like a little group road trip to go visit him. Yeah, there was no recipe I could follow on this. I didn't see anything, so I kind of had to like wing something. And I think the black sesame, what do you got? It's like from the Asian market, from the Korean market, I got it. It was like a paste. It was basically like a peanut butter, but it's made of black sesames, like toasted black sesame. So it's pretty oily. And so I have a feeling that like in the recipe, I need to tweak the butter in the recipe to reduce the amount of fat. That's what's making it so crumbly, but it's delicious. Yeah, Dawn, you said that you're near Sedona? Yeah? Yeah, black sesame paste. I think you can make it, I mean, if you like make black sesame sweets, that's usually what the recipe tells you to do. It tells you to like get the black sesame seeds, toast them, and then like grind that in the food processor into a paste. Oh, you're in the valley. Well, it's all a road trip. It's all a road trip. Yeah, I don't think once I get back from India, that'll be on May 13th or May 14th. I'm not going to be moving anywhere. I probably wouldn't be able to do anything like this until like July or August. Because June's going to be crazy. Did you see that the World Tea Expo got moved to Vegas in June? And they're merging it with the nightclub and bar show. So, I'll be honest, I don't think a whole lot of tea business people are going to come for that. I think they're going to be turned off. They're going to they're not going to want to come. But I'll still be here. Yeah, I'm in India for 2 weeks. Pretty much the first 2 weeks of May. I'll be gone. That sounds horrible, Don says. Yeah, I mean, I think most tea people are going to make that. And like, if you don't live in Vegas, it costs money. It costs money to come to the tea expo. And so, if you're like having to make that decision, or is it worth the investment? And it's like cringe. We're going to be hanging out with a bunch of bar people. And nothing wrong with bar people. It's just it's like a completely different demographic, a completely different way of doing business. Yeah, let's see. When is World Tea Expo? June 28th to the 30th. So it's the very end of June. Yeah. Yeah, the bar and nightclub folks, they're fun. They're a fun bunch. I've definitely made a lot of friends during that show. But it's different than the tea expo. And I just think like a lot of tea people are going to be turned off and won't decide to make the investment. But here's the redeeming thing, is that my tea room is like half a mile from the convention center. So, and you better believe I'll be having events going on concurrently. I'll be live streaming too. By that point, I'll have my cool rig, so maybe I can even take the rig and live stream from inside the expo, but probably not. We'll just be streaming what's going on here, like the seminars and all of that. Yeah, this cookie is good. I give it 2 thumbs up. If I could give the other thumbs up, I would. Yeah, I'll be ready to host everybody. We'll be partying. Well, you know, Brian, Elise and Justin are always in the city. You're not always here. Oh, yeah. That was a cookie. That was a damn good cookie. Oh, I say was. There's still some left. I'm excited to eat. Interesting. I was telling my friends it's almost like an Oreo, like my version of an Oreo. Like the first batch I made them into little sandwiches, like 2 cookies with the frosting in the middle. Hey Jim, did you notice that you're a VIP? I updated my VIP list. We have 8 VIPs. You're one of them, Jim. I don't know what that like gives you access to other than bragging rights, but yeah, you're a VIP around here, that's for sure. There are a lot of people streaming. I think I'm gonna head home, get my. Well, after I eat this cookie now, I'm not even feeling like eating that chicken. I'm so full now. I'll have one more cup of tea. One more cup of tea before I leave. So painless, Brian. You've got to be here. You got to be here for the party. Help us serve tea. We'll need help, I'm sure. I am sure. Alright, I think we're gonna go raid. We're gonna go raid my new friend. I believe he's located in Brazil. He plays music. He loops some music, and he's, I think he's like a newer streamer. But he's fun. I met him through Games, Tea, and Star Stuff out of Germany. Another tea streamer. So we go there, tell him it's a tea raid, listen to some cool jams before you go to bed. It's perfect going to sleep music. Oh, Jim, that sounds wonderful. You're gonna spend some time tomorrow for your granddaughter's 12th birthday. That is gonna be so much fun. Is this like your first like big family gathering since the pandemic? Like people are vaccinated now, I'm sure, and like ready to spend time with each other. Alright, yeah, let's go raid. And listen to some nice music. He has a nice, gentle voice. Very pleasant. Y once. And we will see all of you next time. Pure aloha. Much love.